none of them.
All right. Are you switching sides, bro?
I mean, I'd say I'm more libertarian than anything, but I've always leaned left. But like,
I thought
I'm
you were
gonna
talking
vote.
about fucking sexuality.
No, I'm gonna vote in the upcoming election, and I'm gonna vote Republican down the entire ticket.
Are you?
Yeah.
All right. Well, shit. That's something we can get into a little bit later. I started the fucking recording, so we're good to go. It is episode 39 of Your House Our Rules. We've got fucking Hefe on here. We've met his brothers. Jack has been on here multiple times, and Stav was on here with Bailey, whose actual name is Justin. This is Fat Jeff, Hefe, Jeffy, Ugly Keith, whatever you want to call him. He was telling me before, he was like, man, I don't have a beard. If I had my beard on, people would think you're just splitting the camera and doing an interview with yourself. So how you doing, Jeffy?
I'm good, man. You know, finally here to do this. We've talked about doing it for a long time. You've invited me to do like 2 or 3 of them in the past, but
yeah, I always let you on. There's always a little bit of hesitancy getting on there, especially with people like you, because you are such a fucking overly opinionated person, as I am. Like, you're probably not going to see someone who is more like me on this podcast than Jeff. Look and sound alike, say fucking a lot of fucking out there things, but we'll see how it goes. This could go. I was thinking about this before. I was like, this podcast could either be like, we're just fucking disagreeing totally and shouting at each other, or like we're just having like a real good regular conversation between cousins type shit. So
hard agree with everything you said.
A hard agree. So we can start getting into a little bit of the stuff that we have in hand. Jeff is a bit of a conspiracy fucking theorist guy, and fucking, if you ask him, maybe not so much conspiracy, but I was talking to fucking Drew this weekend, and he had a lot of things to say about you. But yeah, you kind of brought up that fucking whole Project Veritas thing, and that was the thing that you kind of want to come on and talk about. So if you don't know what Project Veritas is, it's essentially like these journalists, right?
Yeah, they've been officially labeled as journalists now by, I think it's the FBI or something through court, because a lot of people said that they weren't journalists because of what they do. What they essentially do is they hire people to go undercover and interview people that or even just go on a date with someone. That's what both of these cases were with the Twitter thing, is they have somebody going on a date with someone who works for that company, and then gets them to talk about things and divulge things that aren't supposed to be out in the public.
Right.
And that's what they do, and they've done it with a lot of things going back like almost 10 years now. They've done it.
It's been going on for that long?
Yeah, Project Veritas has been going on for a while.
Oh, shit.
Actually,
I thought this was new, because you sent me the one that was kind of the thing, was that dude who was out on a date, and like he was talking about must being autistic at Twitter and shit like that.
Yeah, that was the second one. The owner of Project Veritas, actually, James O'Keefe, was raided by the FBI about 8 months ago now, over the Hunter Biden laptop stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they raided his house illegally, went in and took all of his notes, his all of his stuff that's like supposed to be protected by the First Amendment, and they went in and just raided all that stuff. Which there's actually, I believe there's a pending lawsuit over that going on.
Well, I mean, if the feds raid your house, I mean, control.
Right, but they, it was done so illegally. So, but the Twitter thing, the first guy, for those that didn't see it, someone went on a date with him, and he was talking about how in his words, how commie Twitter is, and how everything is left, and pushed that way. And anyone who has an opinion that worked for Twitter, that was any kind of conservative, would basically be forced out. Yeah. Or any opinion that was not pushing the left was... If you were on the right, you just didn't talk about it, or you wouldn't have a job anymore.
Kind of like a don't ask, don't tell type thing.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, fucking if you are, we know, and we're gonna say it's okay, but you will eventually be somewhat forced out of here type thing. Yeah, right. We saw a couple of the things that they had, and it was some serious like questions and stuff like that, or some serious stuff that had come out. Like he was saying some shit, man. And like there was one point where they came back and they were like trying to get comments on the original video, because the original video was like hidden camera, and then the second one was them like actually coming up with like scripts of what he had said on the video, and they were like chasing him through the streets of LA.
New York.
Oh, it's New York. They were just really chasing him, and the dude is is just fucking booking it. He won't talk to anyone and stuff like that. He's like, why are you harassing me? It's like, well, you kind of fucking made some like very like stereotypical comments about Elon Musk and his fucking Asperger's. So.
Yeah, he called him special and said basically because he's special that the guy didn't care about any of his opinions and anything because of him having Asperger's, which is just like absolutely ridiculous.
No,
like,
it's completely ridiculous.
Like I'm pretty sure that dude's not gonna be able to get a job for a while. You know, like
not in that field, I would imagine not. The whole idea of it is to fucking like keep it ship shape and fucking not get all that information out there. And he's openly just telling this on like a random blind date that he has with this dude. What do you know if they do any like build more of a rapport with these guys before they get it, or do they just go on an open blind date with them and fucking get that information?
I imagine that there's times where they've probably had to go on more than one date, you know, or get to know the person more because, I mean, you would think that someone's not going to spill those guts that quickly.
That easily.
You know,
that's
like,
what I was thinking. You sent me that video. I'm like, this is 2 minutes. It seems like they just met each other.
Yeah,
and he's just fucking talking shit about Twitter and Elon Musk.
The guy even says, "You're lucky I met you organically. Otherwise, I'd be questioning everything about you." And like leans in and is looking at him all creepy when he says it.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird. That kind of makes me look like it's staged. Make me feel like it's staged. But
right,
when you see the next video, maybe not.
He even shows him the memo that Twitter sent out. And it's funny because Twitter calls their employees tweeps, which is the fucking lamest thing I've ever heard in my life. So stupid. Yeah, it's so stupid. But that, because like I said, that's the second one. The guy that was talking about him having Asperger's. The first video was the other guy who was some sort of engineer at Twitter, and he was just talking about how left everything is and how they censor things and all that. And because of the first one, they sent out the memo to all the people. And he shows him in the video, he shows him his phone, the email that they sent to him, warning the guy that people are going to try and do exactly what's happening to him in the video, which makes it, like you said, it makes it seem like it's almost fake, you know, like because of... It's like it was scripted, like too unreal.
Yeah, that could be a fucking probably. They might actually like have more in private conversations, kind of telling them to do shit like that. Because if you make it seem like it's fucking fake like that, then people are gonna think that it's fucking fake. Like just make it feel so outlandish. Like you shouldn't do this. So go ahead and just put it out there. But I doubt they want all that information in there.
No, definitely.
Especially when we're talking about fucking social media and something that people use like fucking Twitter. It's supposed to be this large database for open speech and shit like that. Defended by our First Amendment right, and they have multiple videos of it fucking like counterproductive to that.
Yeah, it's supposed to be the new public square, basically, to communicate things. And that's another thing that's like crazy about it is after Elon Musk first made the deal to buy Twitter, there was a whole bunch of people that were, right-leaning that all of a sudden got so many more followers just like that overnight. Mm-hmm. And like because what they were doing, the first guy even says this, is they were throttling down responses for people on the right and turning them up for stories and people on the left. Yeah. To push this narrative and destroy this narrative. And that's something that ties to like Twitter in general with that is the chick that I sent you the thing about who was the Ministry of Truth, the which that thing is gone.
I don't think I got to see that one. I fucking opened it up and it no, you did send me the wrong thing. You sent me a picture and then you didn't send me the fucking video, and I don't know if I actually clicked it and saw the video.
I sent it back to you, but it was a disinformation board. She was basically hired by the Biden administration, and it was their like form of fact checkers. Yeah. And she had, within weeks of it happening, within days really, people were going on there and pulling up tweets from her from like 2018 and stuff, from her pushing disinformation herself. And because time, history unveils those truths over time usually. Yeah. It was proven that she was doing exactly what she was supposed to be fighting. Yeah. So they squashed the whole thing, and she ended up having to resign from it, and she went on like CNN and stuff and was like boo-hooing and everything, but like I mean that's great that happened.
It didn't last long either.
It didn't even get on its feet because of all that stuff. But I mean that's great that it didn't happen because there's already too much misinformation and shit being forced and pushed on us.
Right, and now the person who's supposed to be the head of it is fucking actively doing the shit that they're supposed to be not doing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she was also tied to a group in the UK where they were doing the same thing years ago. Like there was a whole bunch of them, and it's funny because I actually saw somebody online on Facebook when the Ukraine stuff first started, and you remember the Ghost of Kiev guy that supposedly went and shot down all the Russian planes, like 6 or 7 of them, and like it was all bullshit. But I saw somebody post on Facebook that he was part of a group that knew that was a lie, but they went online and pushed it because as the guy said, that it was positive propaganda in the fact that it was reinforcing American citizens to get on board with the Ukraine thing.
Exactly. I mean,
it was influencing us.
Dude, we were talking about that the fucking day or two after it happened when we did like our Russia invasion fucking episode and shit like that. And I said on the podcast, I was like, this is obviously propaganda to fucking to rally troops and raise morale and fucking shit like that.
There was so many things that came out that were propaganda. There was one thing that was a scene from a video game that they used, and it was like helicopters or something. I can't remember the exact video, but it was literally taken from a video game, and like it's just
and people eat that shit up, bro. Like they look at it and they're like, yo, this shit fucking, look at this shit, check this shit, bro. And like anyone with sense, like, you know how many videos I get from people that I'm just like, you know what, dude, like really? It was like, this came out on TikTok, like how are you taking this fucking any legitimacy at all?
It's hard to tell with a lot of stuff, you know, especially for regular people who just see it in passing and then reshare it as truth, and you know,
a lot of people don't do what they need to. They just see something that they think's cool, so they share it. And fucking that's one thing that we need to know. One, you need to fucking realize when fucking something might be fishy, and then you need to know how to make sure that it's fucking not true.
Right.
But some of this shit is just so blatantly fucking not true that like, why are you doing it?
And it's really a shame. But like, you know, you look at a CNN article and then look at a Fox News article about the same thing, and it's a completely different. And like, that's something that people fail to do. They don't ever check. They see one side, and then that's just it.
They're all with it. Yeah, and they're headlined in a way to fucking catch your attention and fucking get you to fucking share it without actually reading the article.
Yeah, it's clickbait as hell.
Yeah, because if you read the actual fucking article, that
sometimes it'll refute what the title is in the own article if you actually click it.
And then they try to word it in a way that you fucking can't really tell whether or not they're fucking going against it. But if you're educated, you can be like, that directly goes against what you fucking actually put in the title.
Or if you spend 3 minutes and do a Google search and look at another you know, article or something to refute it or to verify it. Either one. Is that good?
Yeah, no, we're still recording the audio, but for some reason the fucking video just...
I gotcha.
Yeah, you can keep going now.
Yeah, I mean, the propaganda is just it's unreal, and you know, like what you were talking about with Drew saying something about that. Like, of course, Russia uses propaganda too, but like the people that absolutely think that the U.S. doesn't use any form of propaganda at all, like that they're not trying to influence us. I mean, you go back 20 years and you can look at a number of things. So, you know, with the Iraq War, with Saddam having weapons of mass destruction, the white powder stuff that was supposedly being sent in the mail. Anthrax was not true either. Like, it's just the amount of things that they use to try to influence the population, so that way we're pro whatever the agenda is that they want to do. Because if 80% of the population is against what they're trying to do, they're going to have a whole lot harder time getting whatever it is to stick and to, you know, to go through Congress if they even are voting on something. You know, but if you have the public approval, it's so much easier for them to get away with doing all the fuck shit that they do all the time.
Yeah. Minor technical difficulties that we had. For some reason, my phone that is plugged in and records the camera all live at once, it just died on me, fucking being plugged in. So I gave it a little bit of charge when we started the video. Hopefully we have enough to get through the video. We're going to sync this up afterwards. I can't monitor it. So if it goes out, that's why the video cut out at a certain point, but we'll just keep going from there. So, continuing back into what we did, I just want to hit one little topic left on that with the propaganda whole thing. Like, you were talking about how the United States is, and like our citizens don't necessarily think that there's propaganda, but it's kind of how propaganda works. I remember as being a kid in like middle school and realizing like, yo, these fucking books that we're getting in fucking school are full of propaganda. Like the United States has never lost a war. Okay, well, they burnt down our capital in fucking 1812. like how else do you fucking lose a fucking war if you don't?
There's a lot of lies in the in school textbooks and everything, and a bunch of bullshit. And I think it was Rockefeller. I think it was whoever it was that like came up with the whole school system and everything back in the day, like doing it the way that they do. It was like basically their idea to do that. I mean, it's it's a way to indoctrinate your people to
doing what the government wants you to do.
Yeah, I mean, basically, because you don't want your people to be not saying that that's like completely all bad and everything in textbooks is garbage, but like, you want to. It's a way to influence your people, and not just that, but like whoever does win the wars gets to write the history.
Right.
So
exactly.
Like, yeah, that it's not just the U.S. does it. I'm not sitting here trying to bash the U.S. because all the countries do it.
Exactly.
They all lie. Governments lie.
Right.
It's what they do.
Yeah, and we can look at like stuff like the TikTok from like the United States to, we brought this up on the podcast before, but from like the United States to China, like you go to TikTok in China and it's like all educational science-based videos, and over here it's just like people dancing and lip singing fucking popular songs. It fucking doesn't make any damn sense.
They want their youth to be smart, educated, and healthy, and of course they want our youth to be dumb, fat, and stupid, like, because they're a rival of ours, and their economy will surpass ours within 20 years too. I mean, that's according to economists. I'm not one, but that's what they say, and I mean, if you think about it, everything that we use is made in China, so of course, that like it's gearing towards that, and like, say what you want about Trump and his personality and everything, but like that's one of the few positives about the guy that he had, is that he was trying to bring manufacturing back to our country, which we need to do, because if World War III were to pop off, you think if China were to side with Russia, you think they're gonna keep sending us medicine?
Nope.
And all the things that we need that we get from them.
Right. So we need to bring stuff back into to the United States.
Oh, for sure.
Be more dependent on ourselves.
For sure.
Like so, yeah, or start World War III and then fucking battle it out and see what happens. But speaking of World War III and a little bit of like the indoctrinations and fucking the way that fucking people perceive things, and we just got done. We actually took a little break and we're watching some stuff on the Johnny Depp trial. And so I'd held off on this for the podcast for a couple reasons, but one of them was just because like I wanted it to get over with. And so they finally came to a settlement where Amber Heard ended up getting $2 million, but Johnny Depp ended up getting $15 million.
Yeah.
So I guess once you really get down to it, he got $13 million in the case settlement.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, I know you've been following it a lot more than I have, but I've seen some really crazy shit. I know you want to talk a little bit more about the fucking cancel culture that evolved around it, because we do see a lot of stuff where, like, most times in these kind of like Me Too cases where we're talking about abuse and relationships and stuff like that, usually it's the female side who they take.
Believe the women no matter what.
Yeah, but this time around it didn't, and I think that was largely to do with Amber Heard and just how irrational she was on the stand.
Well, that definitely didn't help her case. No. I honestly think if she was reasonable, even with the mountains of evidence that Johnny Depp had, she might have still won had she not been batshit crazy and, blatantly telling lies there. Mm-hmm. But like I was telling you off the air, in a normal situation, for a guy that doesn't have the money and the security teams and all the people around Johnny Depp that he had, he 1,000% would have been ruined.
Yeah.
Lies would have destroyed his career, his life, everything.
Well,
but just because he had those people around and all the firsthand, witnesses saying that everything that she's saying isn't true, like for a guy like me or you, if what if I just just broke up with a girl in a hypothetical situation because I didn't think things were working out, but she was, still all about it and was mad that we split up. And just because she is mad that we split up, now she can go back and say that I did X, Y, and Z to her.
Yeah.
And because it's believe all women no matter what, everyone would jump on it, and my life would be ruined.
And then it tarnishes your name.
And I would have no way to defend myself or do anything about it.
Right. And I think a lot of people need to be able to actually talk to both sides of it. And I think one thing that Johnny Depp did well in the trial or whatever was the cross-examination that he had became before Amber Heard, and I think that was planned because he wanted to get all his stuff out of the way so they could see like the extra crazy. But a lot of people take these situations and don't talk to both sides. They get one side of the story, and there's three sides to every story: your story, their story, and the truth.
Right.
And so I think one of the things that helped him in that too was they were able to just see how fucking batshit crazy on like a mainstream media perspective. Like everybody was watching this case, and people were seeing this, and they're like, "Man, this chick is lying through her fucking."
No doubt. You know how many people that like didn't believe that girls like her existed, and after seeing this case were like, holy shit, I didn't know that there was people like this. And and I'm sure there's been plenty of guys that have said that girls are like that, and people just didn't believe it. Like, that's not true, that's not a thing. But now that like this happened on that scale, so many guys and girls both realizing that's a thing.
Yeah.
And
that's the thing about it too. On this scale, this is one of the only ones that turned out this way on that scale. Like I've seen both sides of the spectrum on a personal level from the guys and girls standpoints, because this shit does happen all the fucking time.
Oh yeah.
But like when it's on a mainstream scale or whatever, it's usually the popular person in that scenario. Whoever gets fucking shit on first, it just piles on and piles on and piles on.
Whoever
and there's
speaks
absolutely
first.
nothing they can do about it.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Whoever comes out first, usually that's who everybody believes. And if you don't have some actual proof to refute that, then you're just screwed. And most of the time it is just because somebody's mad at how the relationship ended. Like it can be that simple of a thing, and all of a sudden shit goes downhill. Now, with that being said, obviously there's people that actually go through abuse, and it's a shame. And this is an even bigger shame on that front because it's devaluing the real cases.
Yeah.
It's making it to where people are like, oh, she's just full of shit because of situations like this.
Well, I think some of this case has helped bring some of that, shed light on it, bring it to fruition and stuff like that. Because I was watching, we were in there, one of the lawyers was talking about, he's like the fact that we were able, and Amber Heard actually said openly, there was a thing where like, I just thought about the Kate Moss thing and I hit him and stuff like that. And like the fake makeup and stuff like that. So now we're actually seeing firsthand mainstream that like people actually do lie just to get what they want, rather than fucking actually like tell the truth and fucking have a fact-based fucking plan to go at it. It's fucking crazy, dude.
It's almost like personal propaganda.
Personal propaganda, exactly.
Basically, I mean,
So now that that's all over with, we can finally stop fucking hearing about it, man. I've been hearing seeing these memes and hearing all kinds of stuff on the court case. Of course, it's snippets that are fucking taken out of context and everything like that.
In a bunch of other countries, in the UK and in Australia, both of those for sure that I've actually seen clips of articles. Like even with the verdict going in Johnny Depp's favor, they're still trying to paint the narrative in an opposite way.
Well, I mean, the ruling came out and stuff like that, but now, like, we have to see where it goes from here. A lot of people would say that Amber Heard, who definitely got the fucking, or Johnny Depp got the short end of the stick when it came down to the initial trial, getting fired from, like, Fantastic Beasts and all of this stuff.
He lost way more money.
And Amber Heard fucking didn't really get all that much, but now we might see the fucking reverse spectrum of that side of things. But as of right now, it's over. We have to see as the weeks come. But like, could any of that change, you think, or do you think that he's still gonna get shit on? Because I still think he's gonna get shit on.
I actually heard the other day that yesterday, actually, that I haven't seen this verified, but that he's already landed a movie role since, just from the trial and getting his case out and it being evident to anyone watching the trial that he wasn't an abuser. And supposedly he's going to be in Beetlejuice 2, which makes sense because he's been in a bunch of Tim Burton films.
Oh,
and,
yeah. That's right up his alley.
Yeah, so supposedly he landed that role already, but
but it's more about the damages done for shit like that. I know Fantastic Beasts. Actually, I just watched that this week. I got into that series within the past couple of weeks, and they released a new one on HBO Max. And he wasn't in it. They replaced it with Mads Mikkelsen. Yeah. And honestly, I thought Mads did a better job at playing fucking Grimwald, but still, it's the fact that you're a third movie in and they just completely fucking replaced the actor.
It's a blockbuster, and not only did you lose that movie, but you lost the next 2 movies in the series that would have been coming out as well. So that's 3 blockbuster movies where you're one of the main leads in the movie. I don't know how much money they make per movie, but I'm sure it was, at least $20 million a movie.
Right. And that's one of the things where you can talk about how is this really fair, because he gets taken off all these movies, ones that he's already established actor in, and fucking she gets absolutely nothing.
She still did Aquaman after all that stuff happened.
Yeah. And
Aquaman 2 it hasn't come out yet. She's in that as well.
Yeah, but
she's fired from it now, though.
Yeah, I heard that they might be editing a lot of her out of that movie.
She's fired from it now, though.
One thing that we haven't talked about is how hot she looks in that fucking movie, dude.
With the red hair?
Yeah, bro. She's already a dime, but with the red hair.
I don't know, man. When I look at her now, I just
she's crazy. I want her to ruin my life. If you're out there and you're watching this, Amber, your career might be in a low place. There's no one to get fucking lower with than your boy Keith Spillz. So hit me up for sure.
She's a freaking mess, man.
She is a freaking mess. That'd be something that I would not be able to entertain in my life whatsoever. I mean, shit, she cut off his finger.
Yeah. she admitted on camera multiple times to hitting it.
Yeah.
Numerous times.
How do you expect it? The one thing that I really saw that really got me when they were cross-examining her or whatever is, do you remember the part where they were asking about pledging to ALS and stuff like that? And
I already pledged it.
Yeah, she was like, no, she was like, she said, oh, I pledged it. And she's like, no. She said, did you donate it? And she goes, right. And Amber Heard goes, well, I synonymized those words, fucking to pledge and donate. And he's like, okay, but Camille was like, the rest of the world discerns those differently. Pledging is fucking putting it forward. Donating is actually giving the money to him. No, I pledged everything. But did you donate it? No, I pledged it.
She also said she couldn't pay it because she got sued.
Mm-hmm.
And that shit came in. It was
months.
2 years, almost 2 years later.
18 months later, man, and still couldn't do that.
She's just an awful human being.
Yeah, she's a pretty fucking awful human being when you're talking about doing that. And then you go, you get Johnny, who's got the fucking short end of the stick, and he does a lot for
such a nice guy.
For what's the cancer patient or the kids dying or whatever. Make a wish. Does dresses up as Jack Sparrow and goes through hospitals.
Yeah, they tried to say he didn't do any kind of charity and stuff.
Yeah, and don't sit here and get me wrong either. I'm not going to say that if he's this fucking beautiful butterfly and he's a fucking perfect person, because he definitely has some serious drug and alcohol addiction.
Always has.
Yeah, and he probably, some of the shit that they've read his messages, they're pretty foul things to say and fucking read back. It's one of those things in hindsight where I thought I was some G shit, but looking back on that in court, not so much.
Right. Well, and when you think about the context of the situation and what he was going through publicly, with his name being dragged through the mud and everything, you could see, and I'm sure you've been in some situations where you've been angry, where you've said or thought some things that under a different circumstance, the context is so important with so many things, right. And taking things out of context like that. You can clip a tiny little bit of what somebody says. It's what happened to Jordan Peterson so many times. You take one little snippet of what he says and then paint him out to be this awful, horrible person.
If I ever blow up, dude, they're gonna have all kinds of snippets of me, man.
It's easy to do. I mean, now with the deep fake stuff, they could literally make a video where you didn't even say anything at all.
I've seen some fucking deep fake shit that is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, it's good. Have you ever seen the things it's like deep fake, but it's not? It's where they just they take a minute of you talking, and then they can recreate your voice and make it say whatever. And
yes, I have. They put it on a TED Talk, right?
I'm not probably.
I think the one that I saw was a guy who was taking. He took this little thing and he took a recording of Donald Trump and did like a 30-second recording of it, and then was able to just type whatever, and it was Donald Trump's voice. Sound just like him, the way he talked and shit like that. So as long as you can fucking get the like the words right and fucking put them in the way that Donald Trump would say it, it sounds exactly like it. Yeah. Fucking wild shit, man.
It is. It's creepy. You know, I'm like, I hate the fact that there's CCTV cameras everywhere and like filming and stuff like all the time. Right. But honestly, like we were talking about with the Johnny Depp situation, if you don't have all that money and that team around you, like if you are, you know, if you have video of the situations, private situations, then you know, maybe you could actually save yourself one day. As a matter of fact, if any girls like or guy is losing their shit on you and you're in a private situation, it's just you and them, you probably want to start recording. You know, just to make sure that when it, like if it does escalate to where police are involved, you at least have some evidence because it's just you and them. Like
people should be aware of that. I know I always am. So like I've never been in this situation, but if someone's coming at me stupid reckless, I will fucking get my phone out and record you. I remember one time when we had I was at work, and like I used to work with these big fucking like 130 by 60 inch fucking pieces of glass, and the crate had like 20 of those pieces of glass, and the crate ended up falling over, and fucking I had to jump off the table that I was getting ready to drop glass on, and fucking almost like crushed me underneath it. And like I was going taking pictures of this crate that was like seriously warped, and like the way that the fucking racks were made, so that it's like, you know what, if there were something, and nothing ever happened, nothing ever came to it because they ended up not caring about it, but I'm pretty sure they cared. But you know, it was one of those things where it's like, you know what, we're just glad you're safe. But if I needed to, I would have had all that in court to defend myself. Right. So yeah, it's stuff that you definitely should be aware of. And if someone ever is recording you and you're on the opposite side of things, it's probably time to just shut the fuck up.
Yeah, don't be an idiot.
Yeah, don't be an idiot.
Don't be an idiot.
If anyone ever starts getting their fucking phone out to record me and the shit that I say, I'll immediately, if I'm saying some shit that I know can be taken out of context, I immediately just stop talking.
That's
all you gotta do.
I mean, more or less, just don't be an idiot in general. And like, who cares if somebody's saying some words that you don't like or talking about you? Mm-hmm. There's no reason to escalate things to another level or put your hands on somebody, because you're always going to lose that situation.
Always.
And even if you beat their ass, when you get charges pressed against you, you lose.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, it might feel good in the moment, but then you get those fucking charges, and that sticks with you for the rest of your life. But thinking about things that are moving on, some things that fucking affect the rest of our life, I kind of want to get into that WHO trial. Before I do that, I'm just going to fucking hit pause here real quick, make sure this is recording.
If people don't know, the WHO is the World Health Organization, which most people probably know about that because of the pandemic and everything, but also the World Economic Forum, WEF. They were both meeting in Switzerland this past week.
In Geneva, right?
Yeah, they might have both been in Geneva. One's in Davos, one's in Geneva. But either way, like the WHO was trying to get all the countries, which we are one of them, and we signed the treaty. But basically, this treaty is essentially in terms of if another pandemic rolls around, all the countries that signed the treaty are basically beholden to the leader of the WHO deciding that it's...
Well, they're starting to make this like committee of whatever, whereas it used to be that each individual like state, they call it, which would be the country at hand, could make their own decisions on what they want to do during the pandemic. And now there's going to be this committee that is ran by the WHO or WEF, you said?
This one's the WHO, but yeah.
Okay. But essentially they have a committee which is, like hand-picked directors from each state or whatever that come and they conclude. And what they will essentially do is make like pandemic time decisions or whatever. And they want this up and running by 2024. Yes. So in the next 2 years.
They can enforce lockdowns on your country, and if the country chooses not to abide, the other countries who are part of the treaty will then impose sanctions on that country to affect them economically to enforce that. But they also are trying to get global passports.
Yeah, so they actually, from what I read on it, they actually are actively, they hired Dutch Telecom or Deutsche Telekom, whichever one it is.
Which is T-Mobile.
Yeah. They hired them to start making these applications that are essentially going to be this digitalized passport that says whether or not you've been vaccinated or whatever. I'm not necessarily sure if they're trying to implement something where, like, you can't travel if you're vaccinated. You probably still will be able to do that, but it's just one of those things where it's going to make it a lot easier if you do have your fucking paperwork in order and stuff like that. And it brings across some serious human rights questions because
no doubt.
I'm not, after what happened with the coronavirus, like, it's definitely been eye-opening, even though it wasn't as severe as it is. And it definitely is eye-opening to, like, how we did react to it and fucking the things that can happen. So I am in favor of having those steps to be able to fucking, you know, monitor people going from country to country and being able to contain it or whatever. But at the same time, I'm against fucking getting these vaccinations that are fucking clearly not tested enough to fucking prove that they're going to be worth a damn to me.
If you want to stop international travel for a short period of time, just stop it from spreading across the globe. You know, like, that's like one of the only things that I would be on board with.
Right.
Everything else, no.
Yeah.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
With the coronavirus alone, just from the Pfizer documents that came out, there was a 3% death rate attributed to the jab, and that's higher than the virus itself.
Yeah.
So
I don't know anything about those paperworks. I've heard plenty of people talking about this and speculating about it.
If you're interested about it, Russell Brand has put out several videos about it.
And I've seen some stuff. There is definitely legitimacy behind it, and I know fucking a lot of it. Man, I can just see around me personally the people that had the fucking vaccines and stuff like that. But I don't think they're necessarily doing this fucking guaranteed for that, because there's some other viruses that might pop up. Like, we might have a fucking flu pandemic, because there's multiple strains of the flu. We might have one of those that, you know, every year they put out the shot for the flu, but they're kind of just guessing based on fucking data which one's going to be the hot one in order to fucking put that one on the market. Say they get that wrong and another flu fucking is the one that actually comes up and fucking is the one that is seriously affecting people. Now all of a sudden you have this whole thing on your hands, so now they can shut down and fucking do it as they want. They're going to make it easier to shut shit down. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, that's not good. That should be up to the individual states, you know, the individual countries. Like, just having some treaty that isn't elected. Like, these people aren't elected at all, so it has nothing to do with the voice of the people whatsoever. Like, that is what I'm so against.
That is one thing that I'm glad that you put up that I was not a fucking fan of, was the fact that it's going to be like a CDC director or whatever is like part of the committee from here or whatever. It's someone who is appointed fucking in-house. It's not someone who is voted for and fucking necessarily has the intentions of the people behind them.
Exactly.
So that's something that I don't agree with. I do kind of see the point of being able to have like one unified thing that is able to globally fucking lock shit down and fucking keep shit contained, but it's the people behind it who are controlling it that I don't necessarily trust.
But in that aspect, like, that should be like something that individual governments are doing on their own. They should have preparedness to protect that government's people, and I mean, they would probably fuck it up anyway because they do it with anything anyway. But outsourcing that to somebody else like that, it makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things though where when you look at it and you see like, okay, if we're going to let each individual country make its own decisions and shit like that, the United States of America, when it came down to the whole pandemic and stuff like that, we did not give nearly as much of a fuck as the rest of the world did. And, like, when you have fucking scenarios like that, it's going to be harder to fucking control that. And it's going to be, like, we end up becoming an issue at that point.
There's studies coming out now that say that the lockdowns didn't even help. So, and the lockdowns maybe could help in a certain situation.
Regardless of whether or not the lockdowns helped is different than whether or not, like, when we have these plans that are global plans to fucking keep people inside and stuff like that, and there's certain people that aren't following it, then they become an issue for everyone else.
Well, most of the people that weren't following it, like, there was so much evidence of the politicians that are the ones going around and enforcing, you know, and speaking that people need to do this, and then they would be caught partying somewhere or doing something. And if the people who are telling you that you need to follow these rules aren't following them themselves, then that makes people question it, and go against it on their own. Like, and rightfully so. If the people that are telling you this is the rule and this is what we need to do, and then they're going against it, like, that's very hypocritical, and it makes people question whether or not, what the actual agenda is.
Definitely does, and that's why when you're talking about having each individual state making their own decisions, it kind of is like the same thing there. Rather than having just like the politicians that's doing it, is like the United States could say, oh yeah, we're in favor of locking down or whatever, but at the same time they're just freely letting their civilians fucking travel wherever the fuck they want to.
Well, I'm way against a government forcibly locking people down in any way. Look at the shit that's going on in China, and I mean it's still going on in Shanghai right now, and it is some of the worst human rights violations I've ever seen in my life.
And I'm all for having people be able to do what they want, but at the end of the day, I've said this multiple times that I think people should fucking govern themselves at that point. If you truly feel as though you are being infringed upon in your rights or whatever, you should do what you want to. Accept the consequences for what you're doing, but when it comes down to it, if the United States is telling us that we need to lock down and we don't do it, we might just get fucking reprimanded for that. So, but I am for you, because like, dude, when this lockdown happened, I didn't fucking stop. I remember fucking...
I stayed at home.
I remember when we had a curfew at like fucking 10, 11 o'clock. I was driving around at fucking 2 in the morning and shit like that. Fucking, this is like the week after, not giving a fuck.
I stayed at home, just because like I didn't know what was going on, and just like, to protect myself or protect family members. Mm-hmm. But like, I didn't go get the vaccine. I have not had any of them.
And I was definitely taking those precautions and stuff like that. Yeah. I knew who to be around, who fucking not to be around, stuff like that. Like, bro, fucking, I remember 2020 Christmas or whatever. I remember I was asked not to come over for grandma's and stuff like that, because they're like you have
older,
and it made complete sense.
Yeah, right.
My mom told me that, and I was like, yeah, I completely understand. Yeah. I was like, I fucking have not been really minding my P's and Q's. Fucking, if she's older, it affects older people a lot more than it affects the younger generation. I will not show up to Christmas.
Yeah,
I wasn't bickering at anybody. I just fucking accepted it for what it was.
Compromised immune systems and stuff, and that's, I mean, honestly, I think that is a better alternative to it anyway. Is like, instead of like lock everybody down and shut down society, which look at how many like mom and pop businesses went out of business and will not come back.
No,
it just, what the pandemic essentially did was shift even more money into the wealthy's hands.
Oh yeah.
And like in that regard, like, let people protect the people who are immune compromised, and outside of that, like, the rest of the world has to move on. Right. Especially when you said for 2 weeks or for 4 weeks, and then it goes on for months and months and months and months.
And dude, Australia fucking just within the last fucking couple months is starting to get out of their like quarantine type.
Yeah. So, like I said, Shanghai's still, it's...
Yeah. Well, Shanghai's a little bit different, because that's the world's most populated fucking city, and like,
what they're doing is just so wrong.
Yeah, man. I mean, they have their own smog issues and stuff like that. It definitely is wrong, but that's kind of the way China is, man.
Well, that's another thing about giving that power to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization lied and covered for China when the initial information was coming out about the pandemic,
about the
that
Wuhan
could have had an impact. And maybe things could have been better,
right.
And the response to it could have been better and better utilized had they been telling the truth from jump.
Yeah, and it's one of those, like I said, like, I am for taking precautions that when fucking pandemics does fucking happen, because like the coronavirus wasn't shit. Imagine if like Ebola broke out on a fucking global scale like that or something like that. Like, I'm all for that infrastructure being put in place. I don't necessarily know if the people that we're putting in fucking charge of it are the ones that we should trust with that. But then again, most people who fucking hold power probably shouldn't hold power, in my humble opinion. So
I mean, I agree. I mean, it's most like, the bigger the government gets, like, the more waste of money that like that goes with it. It just is. They go together. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. So definitely, this is something that I think way more people should be educated about, because when you told it to me, I had heard about it, but I didn't exactly know what the fuck was going on with it.
Most people have no idea.
Most people have no idea it's even going on.
Yeah. Most people don't even know what the World Economic Forum is either. Yeah. And they literally like train people from a young age to be in government in different places, and then they back them financially and get them in the governments of countries all across the world.
Yeah, so they can
that way they can
them.
so that way they can just have their agenda. Like,
yeah, no, they fucking
and it's not even
like the
for
United States taking someone, raising them up, fucking giving them financial backing, putting them in someone else's government to run for office, and essentially fucking putting their rules and their rules and regulations, but they're destabilizing it from the inside.
Well, most of these countries, they're not even doing it in a way of destabilizing. It's just to get them all on board, so that way when they want to do something like a global treaty, that they know that they'll get
just changing the narrative.
Yeah, exactly. Like France, Macron is from the World Economic Forum. Trudeau in Canada is from the World Economic Forum. A bunch of our congressmen
I've heard a couple things
Forum.
about this. I think mostly from you and Justin, actually. But if you got more stuff about that, definitely fucking share that. I remember watching a video that I think Justin sent me about that. It was pretty wild.
Yeah,
it's fucking crazy. But moving on, we're going to go ahead because I think we're starting to get to a point where we're coming up on an hour. I know the camera is about ready to die, so we're going to kind of rush this one out. If the camera cuts off, cool. But we're going to get into our last segment, which is what you've been sipping on. And, it's just basically what type of media that you've done, music you've been listening to, fucking videos you've been watching. It could be anything, man. What's been going on in your life?
I would highly encourage people to check out Ryan Dawson. This is the guy who you sent the 5-hour documentary, right? Yeah. He is a fantastic activist and journalist. He's been canceled on YouTube and Facebook and Twitter and everything, but he has his own website. It's called ancreport.com. Stands for Anti-Neocon Report. But I mean, he's on other things if you're interested in it. Like, you can find videos of his on BitChute and stuff. But he's got a documentary that he's doing right now on the Israel stealing uranium to create their own nuclear bombs back in the day. And the one that I was telling you about, Empire Unmasked, is all about 9/11 and just the U.S. government. With like the Iran-Contra and stuff, running drugs and guns and protecting mafia and all that stuff to, through the CIA and the FBI to further these agendas and destabilize all these Central American countries and basically to push their influence around the world. And
for sure,
he does like extensive research on it and shows you the information and the facts and court cases and all that stuff, and it's
definitely something that I'm going to check out. Sounds interesting. Whenever I hear about someone who has been banned from like fucking mainstream media outlets and stuff like that, that's always when fucking I kind of draw my attention, because there's obviously a reason why their voice isn't being able to be broadcasted on that, because you can get away with some stupid shit on that, but once you make a name for yourself and are saying the things that go against what they want you to fucking say, that's when you start getting limited. Another important thing that I would say from there is start fucking taking, because I know I want to do this with Your House or Rules, start your content creators and stuff like that. Most of them are realizing that they need to create their own domains for their content and stuff like that. Start getting away from the YouTubes and all the big mainstream fucking streaming sites and stuff like that.
The ones that censor.
And go to their personal shit, because you're going to get the real information there. You're going to fucking be able to get educated a lot, and you're just going to have fucking more direct support for those people.
Telegram is actually a good one that doesn't censor. I use Telegram a lot. BitChute is pretty decent as far as being able to find videos that used to be on YouTube that aren't anymore. You can find a bunch of stuff on there.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, there's definitely ones that don't censor that are worth going to if you're interested in it.
Yeah, and I know Jeffy likes to fucking get into that shit a lot more than like I really have time for. And this podcast with me and Jeff has been a long time coming, because I've always talked about this stuff with him. But like it's one of those things where like I need him to start sending me some shit about it, and it seems like he's starting to send to me a little bit more and more. So I think that'll be a great asset to have in the future. Even if we're not necessarily on the podcast together, but at least I have that shit in the background, because I'm definitely going to check out that documentary, and fucking hopefully we can get you back on here soon and talk about that.
No doubt.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm just going to go into my what you've been sipping on a little bit. So I actually watched, I got HBO Max now, and you got HBO Max?
Yeah.
You do? Have you watched Tokyo Vice and fucking We Run This City?
Oh, no, I don't have HBO Max, but I will check them out because I can find them in other ways.
On other ways. Yeah, so fucking We Built It, or We Run This City is about this cop. Last name is Jenkins or whatever, Wayne Jenkins. And, you know, it's based on an actual true story of this guy who just basically fucking got into the system, and it fucking shows how, like, the police in the city indoctrinated him into doing all these, like, really scummy shit things. And, you know, he's, like, planting drugs on people when he fucks up. He fucking, you know, stealing fucking money that they find in seizures, and fucking also stealing the drugs and giving them to this drug dealer friend so that he can flip them for a profit and shit like that. And just doing all this really, really fucking scummy shit.
I'm sure that's going on in a bunch of cases.
Oh, for sure.
Guy, but that sounds awesome.
It's a little bit more mainstream, though, because, you know, they're talking about it. And one thing that shows throughout the entire show is that he's actually a very good cop. Like, he's one of the most decorated cops in the entire thing. And, like, when you're watching
corrupt
it, well, yeah, he's doing it. He's corrupt, but he actually is getting guns and fucking drugs off the street. He's just fucking pocketing fucking some of the shit, which is not okay, and he deserves what he fucking got, which is 25 years in prison. But he is doing what needed to be done, essentially, from the standpoint of the police department. Even though, as you look at it, Baltimore's shit has actually grown. But in the span that it happened, you know, they're talking about what was it? It was a famous case. I think his last name was Brown. They mentioned it a couple times in the actual show, but it was a guy in Baltimore who, you know, it was a young black kid who got unjustifiably shot by the police, and basically it fucking flipped the whole department around. None of the police officers want to do their job because they were afraid of the backlash that goes.
Right.
And it just gets into all those, like, you know, policing, political fucking intertwined fucking things. And yeah, it's a pretty good show. Tokyo Vice was definitely the better of the two shows that I watched, and I definitely recommend watching this one. But it's essentially about this the first white reporter in Tokyo's biggest newspaper or whatever. Like, he's the first one to ever work at there, and he quickly fucking starts getting into, like, these policing with, like, the Yakuza and stuff like that. And the first season actually ended on a bit of a cliffhanger, and it looks like they're going to pan out through multiple seasons through the story or whatever. But yeah, bro, that shit gets fucking really in depth into that type of culture. Yeah, HBO Max. I think they're both Max originals. So.
One other thing, of course, everybody's watching it. Stranger Things 4 is fucking awesome.
Yeah, Stranger Things was one of those ones that I saw the first season. I never really got into it.
Oh
but
my God, it's so good.
I might have to check it
Stranger Things 4 so far. But the one other thing, if at all, if you like Dungeons and Dragons, or even if you don't, you just like really good storytelling.
Critical Role,
Exandria Unlimited, Calamity
if you want to
is coming on right now. For last week was the first episode. It's just a 4-part miniseries.
Why don't you explain what Critical Role is real quick? Because I know a lot of people are going to have
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Go ahead. This 4-part miniseries is going on right now. It's every Thursday at 10 o'clock for the next 3 weeks because the first one aired last week. But Critical Role is the #1 streaming channel on Twitch. And it's a bunch of voice actors who, if you like anime, you probably have heard their voices because they're huge in anime.
Well, they're actually the voice actors, aren't they?
Yeah, they're voice actors, and they play D&D together and stream it. And
Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, and it's just fucking awesome narrative storytelling, and they're all super talented. You know, they change their voices for each character they play, and they're fucking hilarious. In my opinion, it's better than watching a TV series or a movie, especially if you like fantasy.
Jeff has been really trying to get me to watch Critical Role for a very long time now, and it's just something that I never went in, because you said before they have like 12,000 hours of fucking total content.
The episodes are like 4 hours long each. And they've got 3 campaigns now. They're in the middle of the 3rd one right now, but the first campaign has almost 100 episodes. The second one has like 130, and now the 3rd one's like 20 episodes in. So if you want to check it out, you know, you don't have to watch all of it from campaign 1 through, because each campaign is a standalone
It's completely different.
Yeah, it's a standalone thing. And
it sounds like it might be something that I'm going to start picking up, when I'm falling asleep at night and just continue it. Like, I've started falling asleep around here, so I'll get back into it. And
it's really good.
I might have to do it. And on that note, too, I know Jeff really wants to start playing D&D, and, like, I've been down. I've found a couple people who said they're down, but if people are, like, seriously down to do that, I'm fucking ready to do it. And, like, we can fucking record it, too.
I was neglected as a kid because I should have been playing it from a little kid.
Really? Yeah, man. Fucking Dungeons and Dragons would have been real cool. I remember it always interested me as a kid, but it was something that I never really understood until I got older. And now that I know how it's actually kind of fucking works, it still sounds interesting to me. But
yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be a learning curve if we decide to play it, for sure.
No doubt.
But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and wrap up Your House, Our Rules, episode 39. I hope y'all enjoyed. Peace!
Yeah, have a good night.